I want to tell you about a time that one of my players decided they wanted to play a pirate for their character, and that one decision changed the course of my campaign completely. Hello everyone, my name is Alex, you're watching Silver Dice Society, and today I thought we'd do this video a little bit different. Usually we focus on the advice that I have after running the game for many years, how I like to run certain parts of the game, and I don't usually get as much into anecdotes, although we do include them here and there. Today I want to tell you about the time when one of my campaigns went a little bit off the rails, and how I adjusted to meet it. So let me set the stage for you. There's this beautiful map that I have drawn out. Half the map is this sort of coastal seaside area, lots of little islands, lots of water. The other part is this vast desert, and in between we have this nice lush strip of land. Now the campaign was meant to be a war campaign. Choose a side, all your actions, every quest you choose to take, every person you choose to help will be helping one side or the other, and essentially, although you are a small group of PCs, you will decide the victory of one of these sides, or, potentially if they come to peace, or anything else that happens. In the group, we had a usual selection of people. We had a cleric, we had a warlock, we had a fighter, we had a bard, and we had our swashbuckler rogue. Now, the person playing the rogue was a good friend of mine, and he came to the table saying, hey, I want to play this pirate character, and I was like, that's perfect. There's even a whole island of pirates off the coast somewhere. Pirate character fits right in with the setting. So, wanted to play this sort of down on his luck pirate. I thought that was great. Now, the first chunk of the campaign went very normally, very much how I expected it to and how I intended. And then I gave them the mission that broke the campaign. So, I didn't expect it to break the campaign. I had them working for a queen had sent them out to go and get supplies and recruits from one of these more remote islands. She gave them a small ship with an even smaller crew of just, I think it was 3 or 4 people. It had no captain, and she was sort of saying, hey, you guys helped me out doing these things. You seem like the type who are good at talking to people, good at doing this outreach work. I'm going to send you to this island. You're going to go and talk to them because we haven't had communications with them for a long time. You're going to go. You're going to talk to these people. You are going to ask them to provide supplies and also hopefully people towards the war effort. Great. They set off on the ship. It's working smoothly. The pirate's like, I can captain this ship. I'm used to, I have the vehicle proficiency. I am used to being on a ship. So I'm going to captain this ship. Great. They get there pretty smoothly. I think they had one sort of storm that they hit at sea over the, it was like a week and a half of travel to get there. And, it was smooth sailing, for lack of a better term. It was once they were at the island that things changed. You see, everyone got off the boat, except the captain, the pirate player, and the few crew members that were with the ship. Now, this made sense to everybody. Of course, he would stay with the ship, get it ready for its return voyage, make sure that it's docked properly, all this stuff. Wonderful. Perfect. The group goes off inland. Now, in order to convince these people to come back with them, to help with the war effort, to give supplies, they had to do a smaller quest to help the people to, sort of gain their favor. It didn't take very long. It didn't take more than a whole day. And the pirate player really didn't mind sitting out while the other people at the table went and had this little adventure and fought off some invasive species that were destroying the local crops. They were happy doing their little quest, and the pirate player was happy just watching them, and probably just happy that they were gone so he could steal their ship and leave them stranded on the island. which is where everything changes, because he had split the party in a major way, and not just split the party in terms of space, but split the party in terms of ideology, in terms of morality, in terms of goals. He said, my character, he would want this ship. You know, he would see this opportunity, he would take this ship, it's his now, he's gonna go off and do his pirate thing, and plunder, and steal, and sail, and it, you know, I gave them a crew of normal civilian people. These aren't, you know, leveled characters, leveled NPCs, so it was kind of easy for him to take over the ship and say, okay, we're gonna sail away, even though we have even fewer people. I said, it's gonna be hard, because you have such a small crew. It is a small ship, but you have such a small crew. It's gonna be difficult. But it was possible, and so he stole the ship. They were stuck there. Now, both the people at the table and the characters, I think more the characters, though, I like to hope that I'm reading my players correctly, mostly the characters were pretty pissed at this. They were not cool with the fact that this person who had been gaining their trust and traveling with them and helping them fight just left with their greatest asset, because they didn't have a means of traveling back without this ship. There were very few ships on this island, and so it was going to take them even longer and even more work to work with these people and hopefully get another vessel, hopefully find a way off this island to not be stranded and to continue their journey. They were also stressed because, you know, there is this mounting tension between these two countries, and they're going to go to war, and if we aren't helping, that could be the deciding factor. The side that we believe is right could lose. They cared a lot about it. Pirate player did not care. So this is where things really changed for maybe not the entire campaign, because we did get back to the main plot, but it definitely created an arc in the campaign that wasn't going to exist, and it really, really changed the direction of, like, who the party characters were and how they reacted to things. See, after the session where the pirate had stolen the ship, the rest of the party was stranded, I had a talk with each of the individual groups. I had a talk with all the players at the table except for the pirate, and I had a talk with the pirate individually. I was like, okay, what do you want to do? First of all of you together, do you want to just let this player make another character and that other character becomes an NPC and you work with them? And they were kind of like, no, we don't want to work with them, because they just showed that their player character just completely fucked us over. So we do not want to work. And I was like, that's totally fair. But they were also like, we still want them at the table. Like, we don't have anything against the player. We have something against the character, but we, you know, how are we going to build that trust with another one of their characters right away? I was like, okay, that's fine. So I talked with the pirate player and I said, okay, here's how this can go. If you want to keep playing, you will not be with the party. You will have a much smaller role at the table, but you will still be doing things. This is going to be a game of cat and mouse, and honestly, if it ends well, there's 3 ways this can go. You will have to really earn back their trust, have like a whole reformation plot, have like really good reasons for what you did, like really win them back. Or you're going to end up in jail. Or you're going to end up dead. Your character's just they're gonna kill your character. Like, they are angry. So that's how this is gonna go. And you have to accept those consequences. You did this. They're angry. They want revenge. So you're going, you know, I'll let you play this, but you're now the villain. You made that choice. You're now the villain. I'm sorry. That's the choice you got. He accepted, which is great. Great, or also a little intimidating. So what ensued was a game of cat and mouse, where I would consult with the pirate players, see what they were doing, then we would focus the main bulk of our playtime at the table with the group who was trying to, 1, get another vessel, 2, figure out where he was going, figure out where he would be, and 3, find the resources and gain crew members to help them get to this person. and take revenge against them. Now, the pirate also had the opportunity, you know, I'd consult them. Where are you going? What are you doing? Are you gaining more crew? Are you looking for specific things? Like, are you going to specific islands? You know, they were 2 steps ahead of the group, but eventually the group would catch up. They were only 2 steps ahead, you know? It had to be for the next 10 to 15 sessions we spent at sea in this sort of back and forth chase where I kept interweaving parts of the main plot, of course, for the main group, important things, but they were pretty singularly focused at the same time on, we will do this, we will forward this plot, but we also want something to help us get our revenge against this pirate who wronged us, our friend who left us stranded, who deserted us. And they did eventually catch up to him. Now, what happened when they caught up to him? Well, they murdered him. Pretty much murdered him. He had amassed a couple extra crew members. They were a party of leveled people, and they didn't care about the crew members. They didn't want to hurt these innocent people who had been recruited by this pirate. They were out for blood. I could tell as soon as the battle started that it was different from any of the combats that had happened in this campaign so far, or in my first campaign. I have never, I think, before or since, seen a party so focused on just pure offense. Just pure, we want to hurt this person, we want to kill this person, we don't care about anything else. We don't care about playing defensively. We don't care about talking. We don't care about any of these other things. Most of our other resources that we do take into consideration for other combats and encounters, we're out for blood. We're just going to give it 100%, all of us, because we're angry. And of course that worked for them because they were against one of their PC. He died pretty quickly. Pretty brutally, that he was beheaded. I believe our warlock character even had a familiar that like ate parts of the pirate afterwards. Like it was intense. They were angry. They were angry, but they all really enjoyed that session. They enjoyed a lot of the other sessions. They loved winning against this other player, and it brought them all closer together, and it also gave the opportunity for that other player to rejoin the group with a new character. They were like, we made you pay, your character's dead, we killed him, he's not coming back, so you can, you know, you can build a new character now, you can join us again. We're all good, we're all friendly at this table. I thought that was like a really nice moment. I thought that was it was a really interesting situation to be in. So, what did I learn from this experience? What do I think was done right? What do I think I would change now with more experience as a DM? What can we essentially learn looking back on times when it feels like our campaign is sort of taken out of our hands in this way? First, let's go over what went right. I think that the biggest thing was being receptive to that change happening. Sometimes as DMs, we can be afraid of players making very big choices that don't necessarily go along with any of the paths that we have seen or thought were set out for our characters. They go in a very different direction, or sometimes they make moves against the group. Do I think you can be a good player while still fucking over your teammates sometimes? Yes, I do think you can. But I think the biggest thing is you have to be receptive to that, and then you have to react with conversation. I think that the second thing that was done right was having that conversation with all the different people at the table, getting their perspective on the situation, and working almost together to find a way forward. Okay, things have changed. We're not where we thought we'd be when we started the session today. Where are we going to have to be when we start the next session? And that discussion doesn't have to get all the way to where are we going to be when we start the next session. That's your job as a dungeon master or a game master. But having those conversations with your players, really taking a moment away from the table. It's always okay, especially when things get heated or there's bigger moments. It's always okay to take a step back, to say, cool, this is where we're ending the session today. We're going to talk out of character. We're going to make sure everyone can be on the same page with where things need to be moving forward. If the players didn't want to go forward with things as it seemed they were going now, it would have been important to have that conversation and talk about what the solution would be out of character. Because when we're in our character brains, we think as our characters, what they would do. And that is not always conducive to problem solving. I know that problem solving is basically all we do in D&D, is we're solving problems. Sometimes we're solving them with swords, sometimes we're solving them with magic, sometimes we're solving them with words. But I do think that sometimes we need to step out of our characters. We need to say, hey, are we all cool with the direction this is going? Yes? No? How do we come to a place where we're all cool with it if we aren't? I think that that's important, and I think doing that, and the fact that I had that instinct even way back then, where it was like, okay, I'm going to talk to my players, is very important. Now, I do think it would have been much better had the pirate said, hey, I want to build up to fucking over the party. Like, I just want, to stay with them until I commandeer a ship, this and that and that. I'd be like, okay, we're going to build you a slightly different plot where you are able to do this, but once your character does this, he is out of the campaign. He is an NPC. Perhaps I'll bring you back when that villain fight happens, but you are going to be a different player at that point. Like, we're going to reintroduce you same session. We could have planned a lot more, which is, I think, where like session zeros and really having character focused stories comes in. But I do know that that is something that comes with like a lot of practice, and that requires a lot more input, a lot more buy-in from players. Luckily, this was a much less serious game, so it still worked out. But I do think that that is part of where that could improve. The next way I think that things went right was how the sessions played out following this. I think that it is okay when you have a party that's split in this way, where you have 4 people at the table who are doing one thing and one person at the table is doing something completely different. It's really important to manage your time at the table well. The fact that I had small moments with the pirate player at the table intercut with most of the gameplay going towards all the other 4 players was really important. And I think that you have to understand that. If you are going off and doing something completely separate from the group, I think it's your job as a player to understand, hey, this means that I'm not going to be playing as much, because that time has to be managed so that everyone at the table gets sort of an equal opportunity to play. And if I'm not with them, then I'm getting a much smaller slice of that pie, and that's what I'm signing up for. And I think that managing it that way and setting those expectations is a good thing to do, and it was what happened, and it worked out totally fine. The final thing that I think went right in this entire arc and what happened is not something that I can take any credit for, and it's that final combat. I think that just the way it was set up, where we had an actual player who had taken the time to win everyone's trust, to establish themselves as part of the group, and they just completely screwed everyone over. That really created a very strong emotional moment for those characters and a very strong motivation for revenge. And I think that that made that final combat such a unique situation, where it really did create a great villain character, because they had personally wronged the party. Not only had they personally wronged the party, they had personally wronged the party after they had taken all these steps to make the party like them. And I think that that's something that can be implemented in NPC villains and other villain characters really well. I wish it had been done intentionally. I wish it had been done so that everyone at the table was the party fighting against that, instead of just the player at the table, a bunch of players versus another player. But I do think that it brought out that moment, which was very, very good. What would I change now if something like this happened in my current campaigns? First, I have to acknowledge that I run very different games now. The games that I was running back then were very, very casual. It was a much different environment. They were also a lot longer. The players I have now come to the table looking for mysteries and character-focused plots and some deeper custom stories that involve a lot of immersion in the worlds. There are moments of levity and comedy, of course, but they aren't the focus of the campaign. We're not just there to enjoy each other's company, although we are there to really dive deep into these characters and these worlds. So I don't think that I would have tolerated this exact thing happening at my table today. I wouldn't have handled it the same. I would still completely tolerate something like it happening, but it would have been handled differently. And the main reason that that happens is because my campaigns today are different. So if something like this happens in your campaign, you handle it similarly to how I did, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that you need to read your table, and every table is going to need a slightly different solution to every problem. You will know best who your players are, how they're feeling, and if you don't, you can talk to them. Now, with certain things, we make decisions as players and as characters in the moment that feels so off the wall to our DMs, but it just was what made sense in the moment. And a lot of those things we as players can't see coming. But a lot of the time there are some pretty big decisions that we can see coming, and when you're spending a week on that ship and or a week and a half on that ship and you intend to steal it, you have a couple sessions, or at least a session of time to communicate with your DM, hey, or when the ship first gets brought up as something that's being given to the party, you have the opportunity to say, hey, my character is going to steal that ship. You have time to think about how that should go down. You know? That's something you should give your DM a heads up with, if you can. Now, I will admit, I've done the in-the-moment thing of like, I didn't think of this until during this session, and my character's gonna do this thing, and I'm sorry, but this is what they would do, and I have derailed at least 2 campaigns. So I understand being that person who has not fully talked to the DM beforehand, and who has put them in the position of, no, we're going in this direction now, mainly because my characters try to avoid conflict, so they're like peacekeepers or like people who try not to fight, and usually it's like a big fight. I mean, I sort of ended an entire war arc that was supposed to happen because I joined the enemy team. So I get it. I get where it comes from, being a player making those decisions, but I've also been the player who's seen something coming, and I've said to my DM, hey, you've put these pieces in front of me as a character, and if this opportunity comes up, I'm going to take it. If these things happen, this is what I will do. This is what my character will do. I know it's what they'll do. I'm sorry. And I will tell them that ahead of time, because then they can plan. They can say, okay, is that something that I can handle as a DM? Is that something that I want to maybe push the campaign in a slightly different direction, or push the character in a slightly different direction so that I make sure that it doesn't happen if they don't want it to happen, or I can be prepared, I can know how to make that work with the goals and the needs of the group. So if you know ahead of time, talk to your DM. If this specific thing was to happen at my table today, I would have hopefully talked to my player ahead of time. We would have come up with a plan for it, and it could have been an even greater moment. It could have been an even greater arc. Now, the second thing I would have changed is I would have made it a much shorter event. I would have either shortened the length of time in which this happened, in which this arc happened, so it wasn't quite an arc. I would have sort of taken out all the bits of main plot and other character plots that I tried to stick in during this arc, this newly created arc with the pirate villain, and I would have shortened it up, or I would have, if the player was okay with it, said, okay, your character's going to be an NPC now. You're going to make a new character, and with that character, we're going to have to integrate them same day. Now, how would I navigate making the party accept that new character? I would say, okay, here's what you have to do. You have to build a new character who either exists on this island right now. either because they're visiting or because they live here. And they have to be the character and the kind of character who would help this group of people who just got stranded by offering them a boat or offering them help to get a boat. You have to extend the olive branch immediately with that new character. You know, giving them an in with the group so that the group can feel good about it, so that they don't need to viciously murder the other player character in order to be okay with them rejoining the group as a new character. That's how I would set up that part, just so it takes less time. But I also run shortened campaigns now, not just because they're filmed, but because I really like the short, tight, go story, and that's what I'm trying to build right now. So yeah, we would have definitely shortened this up. We would have definitely taken one of those two routes. Either you're an NPC or you're just a new character now, whether it's in the interim or whether it's forever, but you're gonna be a character that can extend that olive branch, and you have to accept that, because if you can't accept that, you won't have a place at this table. You'll have, it'll be difficult for the other players to accept you, and you have to take that into consideration. The final thing that I think I would change today is integration. So I say that this derailed my campaign. It really did. It derailed it for quite a bit. But I think that the reason that it derailed this campaign so much is that I didn't take the proper steps and the proper time and effort to integrate into my campaign this entire arc. I think that there is a place where this arc could have been integrated back into the main plot. I think we should always be trying to integrate stories together. I think that makes for much stronger campaigns. And so what I would have done today is, if this specific thing happened, I was running the same campaign, I think what I would do is, the pirate steals the ship, I would make them an offer from someone, present them someone from the opposing side, the side that the other player characters had decided they were completely against. I would make them an offer, make that pirate an offer from that side. Say, hey, the king of this country that you were previously helping the war effort against, he needs this, he needs that, he needs maybe the arms that the players were gathering. You are being offered a better ship, you are being offered money, you're being offered whatever it is that character wants in exchange for this help, and really integrating them with that plot, giving them the opportunity, especially if they're going to be playing that character at the table, to also then have more information about the other side, have things that they can bring to the table that relate back to that main plot, instead of just being this mini villain. Now they're this mini villain that's working for who the party has decided is the bigger villain. Now we're coming back to the main plot. Now we're reintegrating. And I think that that's probably the biggest change that I would make to that now. And I think that that would make all the difference. We're here at the table. Everyone comes to the table. Players, DMs, we're all here to tell a story together. It's collective storytelling. But we as DMs really have the strongest hand to push that story in a certain direction. We have the strongest hand in making that story satisfying and make it make sense, and that is our job. Our job is to give all of the players at the table an experience that they'll enjoy. And generally, if you're going to tell a good story together, they're going to enjoy that story. They're going to come back for that story. That is the thing that they're gonna, they're gonna remember that campaign forever. They're gonna love it. I barely remember these campaigns, these first few campaigns that I ran, because they weren't as good. But I remember very vividly campaigns that I did after that. Is that also because they're newer? Yes, but also it's because they have more cohesive moments, more good moments, more integration between all the plots. It's a lot easier to remember a plot when all the pieces sort of go together, when they all fit like gears, instead of being like, oh yeah, there's this bit over here and this bit over here and this bit over here that happened, and then there's the line down the middle that was the main plot. You'll remember the line down the middle, you might remember this bit over here, but you'll forget this bit and this bit because they don't fit together. They aren't integrated. So I think that that's the biggest change I would make today. And you guys might have other ideas. I would love to hear them in the comments. I would love to hear what you would do if you were presented with this sort of situation. How would you integrate this into your plot? How would you completely change how you reacted? Would this be allowed at your table? Would you let one of your players do this? Are you the player that does this? Are you like me? Do you really, are you the player who like adds that little bit of chaos to your campaigns? Whether it be like usually accidentally because you just play difficult characters, but you know, are you this player? Have you DM'd for this kind of player? How do you handle these situations? I want to hear all of it in the comments down below, and I want to also hear if you have any stories like this or any like D&D stories that you want to tell us. I want to thank all of you so much for watching. I want to wish you a happy Kraken week. Thank you guys so much for rolling with us. I hope your next campaign is a great one.